Well, your hot tub curmudgeon is 800 miles from a hot tub this morning, and I'm feeling the lack. And I'm also thinking, if 50 years ago people could have seen how bad they look, I mean, a video camera gives a much better image than a mirror does. And anyway, had we been able to see how bad we look, I don't know that we would have tried to live so damn long. So here's what I'm thinking about this morning. First off, there's the notion of a paradigm. I love this idea. I think I got it from Werner Erhard, and that is that the dictionary definition of a paradigm is a model. Now, when I look at how you're living your life, and if I can get to know you a little bit, I can recognize that you have a model for how you think reality is, and I can see that it's a screwy model, it's an enviable model, but it's only a model, see? But to you, you're inside it, and it ain't a model. So it would be sort of like asking a fish to describe water. What are you talking about? What is water? Or imagine this. Imagine that sound was going before you were born and it continued at the same volume, same pitch, solid, unchanged throughout your entire life. What would you call that sound? You'd call that sound silence. Okay, because you're inside a paradigm where that thing has no contrast. Okay, so I want you to consider the paradigm in which you would have lived had you been born in, let's say, 1830, 1840 in the South, let's say South Carolina. Now, I was listening to some Southern Baptist preacher from that time frame talk, a very famous guy. He was like the chaplain of the Confederate States of America. And he wrote this long sermon about how there was no better life for a black person than to be the slave of a good Christian master, because the black man had serious limitations, and a good Christian master could provide direction for the man's work energy, and that without that direction, the man's life would have been chaos and unproductive. So, to you and me living in 1840, that sermon would have made perfect sense, and we would have had a prejudice about the limitations of black people, and that, yeah, they're the best outcome of their life would be to be enslaved by a Christian enslaver. Okay. Now, what I want you to so you can get the paradigm in which you might have lived at that time. I wish that we could investigate the paradigm in which we live today. And that paradigm is that it simply is inconceivable that we would give a universal income, guaranteed income to everybody. So let's suppose that we guaranteed to everybody $3,000 a month, $3,000 a month to live. And you didn't have to go to work. You didn't have to do anything to get it. It was just automatic. Now, because of the paradigm in which you and I live and the prejudices that you and I have about human nature, it's like, oh, no way in hell that would work. So just like in 1840, we'd have a sense that the current structure of 1840 is God-given and inarguable, nothing you can do to change it. We'd have you and I now have the same idea that the way that we're running things is the best of all possible worlds. And it's God given. It's like the way it has to be. We have a prejudice that human beings are lazy. So if you were to give a guaranteed income, things would just go to hell because everybody just sit around, smoke dope. Is that true? You know, I used to cook a supper for hobos and homeless first Mondays of the month. And I spent about, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours on that Monday afternoon fixing that supper. I didn't get paid for that. And, you know, if I was making $3,000 a month guaranteed income, and had the time, I'd probably want to go do that. I mean, I have an income a hell of a lot more than $3,000 a month, and I was doing it. And would I have gone to law school on $3,000 a month? Yeah. And would I have practiced law? Yeah. It was pretty interesting practicing law. Would I have been a computer programmer? Oh, hell yes. I love computer programming. Back when I was studying it, first began to study it, when I ran out of homework, I would think up stuff to do. So there, I don't know, at least for some, I don't know. See, I'm going to say for some of us, but that's my prejudice about human nature. But so maybe we'd have a whole lot more music in this world, a whole lot more plays, theater in this world if we had this guaranteed universal income. So I'd like to take a look at what is the paradigm in which you and I now live where we say, oh no, that couldn't possibly work.